I'm so tired of fighting with my mics to find the best quality. Check, check. Today I'm going to compare 3 mics. Hopefully I'll figure out which is the best.
Welcome to my recording studio.
What is it about a microphone or studio gear that makes it sexy? If you're a gear nerd like me, you love musical instruments, studio equipment, you might find yourself wondering, why do I love these microphones? So in addition to music and my own podcast, as you can see here, I produce several podcast shows. And I'm always frustrated because someone can breathe wrong and suddenly I'm not happy with the clarity of a certain microphone. Somebody moves weird and suddenly there's a hiss or there's line noise. I'm on the hunt for the most clear sounding microphone. And even though I have many of them, I'm still struggling to find it. So I'm going to compare 3 mics. The SM7B, which is the industry standard, and I'm convinced that these are so widely used only because bigger podcasters have popularized them.
What?
Maybe I'm wrong.
I was sick. The passive. So what's
Yes, it is.
He's so sure of it.
The Samson Q9U, which was introduced to me by a fellow podcaster. This is what he's using, but I'm still not sure. I haven't done a true test. And lastly, this beautiful Sontronics mic that I discovered while I was at NAMM this year, not Vietnam. There was a couple of things I was looking for while I was at NAMM. And one of the top priority items was a good podcast mic. I've been using Shure almost from the beginning. But in my mind, I was like, there's gotta be something out here that's just as good, less expensive, or perhaps even better. So with that being said, let's give them a test. Let's see how they perform. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. To level the playing field, I have an XLR cable. I'm going to do each mic directly into my mixer. And I'm going to set the gain at plus 20 decibels. And we're gonna see how they all perform. I'm going to say the same thing each time and we're gonna compare. No processing, meaning no EQ, no compression, nothing. Just dry, straight into the mixer. You might be asking yourself, well, don't you always go straight into the mixer? Well, with mics like the Shure SM7B, you might wanna have what's called a Cloudlifter. What it does is it boosts your signal, and without them, you might find yourself having to, in post, boost the volume so much, which introduces noise and hiss and all that stuff. Right now, we're bypassing the Cloudlifter. We're going directly in, and we're gonna see what they sound like. In between whatever I say, I'm going to pause. And the reason I'm doing this is because we want to also hear how much hiss exists in this signal when nobody's talking. Now, of course, when you're producing, you're editing, you can take that hiss out in between words in post. But again, when you're doing a podcast, broadcasting, or even recording vocals for a song, you want to have the signal as clean as possible. So first, we're going to start off with the Samson Q9U. I'm going to put my mouth right up on them and talk as closely as possible. I'm not going to worry about doing 3 to 6 inches or any of that stuff. I'm just going to go close and we're going to take it from there, because in my opinion, a good mic should allow you to go as close as possible without really getting distortion or too many pops and all that stuff.
Check, check. This is the Samson Q9U. Test. Check, 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 check. This is the Sontronics podcast mic. Test, test. Check, check. This is the Shure SM7B. Test, test. Check, check.
All right, so already right out the gate, I'm looking at the display on Pro Tools that shows the wave, which is a good visual as to how loud something is. And already I can tell you that the Sontronics mic is far louder out of the three. So a real quick side note, something to consider. Your room, how well you have it treated, that does play a role in your overall sound quality. You want to try and minimize as much as you possibly can those reflections that come off the walls. So for the next part of the test, what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect all three to the Cloudlifter. Again, no processing, no compression, no EQ, none of that. But we're going to put them into the Cloudlifter, which will boost the signal. We're going to keep the gain at plus 20 decibels, but we're just going to have that extra boost connected.
Check, check. This is the Samson Q9U with a Cloudlifter. Test, test. Check, check. Check, check. This is the Sontronics podcast microphone with the Cloudlifter. Test, test. Check, check. Check, check. This is the Shure SM7B with the Cloudlifter. Test, test. Check, check.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you my pros and cons of each mic. There's certain instances where I actually might use one mic over the other. So let's talk first about the Samson Q9U. It's not over the top loud when you don't have the Cloudlifter, but when I put the Cloudlifter, it actually brought those levels to be quite in line with where I want a mic level to be. Sometimes if the mic is too low, I find myself using compressors and limiters and boosting those gains just to kind of balance the signal. And I found that the Q9U, even without the Cloudlifter, not so bad. There seems to be a lot of bass. Now, also keep in mind, you're probably watching this on your phone, maybe on your TV. Either way, you're gonna be hearing it from different speakers, probably very trebly speakers, whereas my comparison came from my studio monitors, which already have a lot of low end. Use headphones if you need to, and that should give you a better indication as to how you think the mic performed. Now, a couple of really cool features that the Q9U has that the other two don't. Not only can you go in XLR, but you can also go in through USB. I kept the settings on the back flat for this, so already there's somewhat an advantage of being able to go USB if you don't have a mixer. And it kind of has, which I almost feel like maybe it's a good thing, maybe not, depends on who you are and what you think, but it has this mute button on top. Now I can see that coming in handy if you have a podcaster who's self-aware and starts coughing and they mute themselves for you. But as a producer, unless it's an extreme cough fit, I don't know. I don't know if this mute button is really necessary. I mean, it's an extra feature. I mean, it doesn't hurt to have it, I guess. So the Samson Q9U, $99, built really well. The signal level is pretty decent. The clarity, it doesn't have the clarity that I would wish it had, but for 99 bucks, it's actually not bad. Doing some post-production magic, you could probably get these mics sounding pretty good. Now the Sontronics. First, I'm going to state this. It's a beautiful mic. And Sontronics gives you an assortment of colors. Right now I have the red and the gold. There's I think 10 colors, 8 colors, I don't know, but there's a lot. To me already, because some of my podcasts are filmed, that is a huge plus. The build, it's like an aluminum. It's light compared to the Samson. Something about it doesn't feel as quality as the Samson, but let me tell you something. These come with a lifetime warranty. I have never seen or heard of any podcast microphone, at least Then again, I haven't really researched it much, but I have never heard of another podcast microphone having a lifetime warranty on it. It's beautiful. I will tell you right out the gate, the levels you get going directly into a mixer are pretty good. As far as the clarity goes, I felt that the sound was a little boxy, and I felt like it picked up too much of my, what do you call them, plosives, the B's and the P's. Now, that's not to say that it's necessarily a bad thing, because I did talk a little close to the mic. A lot of my podcasters, especially by the end of the podcast, they're like out here, which makes my editing tougher. I think, and maybe this may not be aesthetically pleasing to the eye, or maybe it's not ideal, but I feel that if you had a pop filter for this mic and you made sure that your podcasters weren't up on it like I was.
I couldn't find Mike in your Apple Music library. You can ask me to play a radio station or ask for your music on a different app.
Thank you, Siri. I wasn't talking to you, but thank you. I feel that $50 more, you're still getting a quality mic. If you don't care about how the mic looks, but you want those levels to be a little bit higher than you would get from the Samson, you can tweak the recording to make these mics sound close to one another. Let's talk about the Shure. First, I can tell you, I hate seeing everybody using the same mic. Why? Because it makes podcasters, especially up and coming podcasters, feel less than if they can't afford it. But let me tell you, to me, it doesn't matter what you're using as long as you can get it to sound good. And if you're not using a Shure, who cares? Right out the gate, the build quality, very tough. Not only have I used this for podcasting, but I've also used it to record vocals. One of my biggest gripes with this mic is the fact that it has such a low level signal. I get frustrated with that because then that means I've got to bring those volumes up, and when you have to boost volumes in post, you end up boosting unwanted noises as well. If you can afford a Cloudlifter, that does make your life a little bit easier. Now, I will tell you, when it comes to clarity, this one is unmatched. It sounds really, really good. These are the industry standard. There's a reason they are the industry standard. That's something that I did learn through this comparison, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best mic. I will say they all have some really good pros and some really good, bad cons. What is your budget? Can you afford to buy an SM7B? And if you're going to have more than one person on a podcast, can you afford to buy multiple SM7Bs? Can you afford to buy a Cloudlifter? Is your podcast going to have video? Do you care what your mic looks like? How much knowledge do you have in production? So hopefully you found this video to be useful. If you did, please consider giving me a like. If you can find it in your heart and you really like this video, please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Hopefully you learned something from this. I know that just going through this process, I did. Please leave a comment below if you have any questions you want me to touch on, maybe something I missed. Otherwise, thank you all so much for watching, and you'll see me next time. Bye.